As David prayed, saying, "For everything in the heavens and earth is yours, O Lord. This is your kingdom. And we adore you as being in control of everything. For riches and honor come from you alone. You are the ruler of all mankind. Your hand controls power and might, and it is at your discretion that men are made great and given strength. So now, O Lord, I pray, make these servants great. Grant to them discernment to govern rightly, integrity beyond reproach, courage to fight for a bright and greater tomorrow, and a spirit of unity to move our nation forward together. Lord, in this hour, we need you. We need more of you. So, Lord, lead us and guide us and bless us according to your will, and may your name be glorified forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House the approval thereof. And pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Bost.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Zinke. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana rise?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 7 of Rule 20, I move a call of the House.
Under Clause 7B of Rule 20, the chair confers recognition for that purpose. Without objection, a call of the House is ordered. Members will record their presence by electronic device.
And here in the House, after this quorum call vote, members expected to proceed to a third ballot for the election of the Speaker of the House. Ohio Representative Jim Jordan in the running for that speakership after failing twice to secure the position. We heard from him in a briefing earlier this morning. You can find that at cspan.org if you missed it. Congressman Jordan saying he planned to go to the House floor to get the votes and win the race, and that he would be working to try to turn the 20 members who voted against him in the previous tallies. Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News writing on X that a source describes the meeting held by Congressman Jordan with those holdouts as a direct, precise meeting in which Jordan was told he will never be Speaker. This group doesn't want anything, the source said. They want Jordan to understand he will not be Speaker. And voting underway here in the House. A quorum call vote for all members to come to the floor as they continue efforts to elect a new speaker. After this, members expected to proceed to the third ballot for the election of the Speaker of the House. Ohio Representative Jim Jordan in the running for the speakership after failing twice before to secure the position. Already this morning, Indiana Republican Victoria Spartz telling CNN she'll support Mr. Jordan one more time, but after that, probably the last time. We plan on taking your calls and comments after the vote for Speaker here on C-SPAN. And this vote nearing its end here in the House, a quorum call vote for all members to come to the floor as they continue efforts to elect a new speaker. After this, members expected to proceed to the third ballot for the election of the Speaker of the House. Also let you know, among Democrats, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries held a press conference earlier. You can watch that online at cspan.org, and we'll be taking your calls and comments after the vote.
You're watching C-SPAN's live coverage of the House of Representatives. A quorum call is in progress right now to determine the number of lawmakers present for a third round of voting in this speaker election race. We want to get your thoughts on this next step here in the House of Representatives, the possibility of Jim Jordan being speaker if he can get the votes, although the reports are that he is likely to lose more votes than he already has in this next round of voting. So the phone numbers: Republicans 202-748-8921, Democrats 202-748-8920, and all others 202-748-8922. We'll get to your calls in a minute here. Michael Schnell is joining us, a congressional reporter with the Hill newspaper. Michael Schnell, why are they taking this quorum call right now? And what do you expect the number will be of those present for a possible third vote?
Yeah, so this has been the course of action for the previous two speaker votes as well. The quorum call is really important when you're talking about a speaker election, because we need to see how many members of Congress are actually in the chamber today, because that will determine how many votes Jim Jordan needs, or rather any speaker candidate needs, to clinch the nomination on the House floor. Of course, you need a majority of the chamber or a majority of the members present to win the gavel. Typically speaking, that's 218 votes. But there are currently 2 vacancies right now. That brings the magic number, so to speak, down to 217. As of right now, we know of one sure Republican absent, Congressman Derek Van Orden, a Republican from Wisconsin. He's currently on a fact-finding mission in Israel, so he will not be present for today's vote. That, if he's the only absence, that's not expected to bring down that magic number, but it'll mean that Jim Jordan will only be able to lose 3 Republican votes rather than 4 Republican votes and still clinch the gavel. Of course, way more holdouts, lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, have said that they do not plan to vote for Jim Jordan and haven't voted for him in the past. So this is likely not to be a successful vote for him. But that gets back to the quorum call and why this is a really important step in this entire speaker landscape.
So what is the number expected of opponents today? Will it be more than we have seen in the last 2 rounds of balloting?
That's what a lot of Jordan opponents are predicting. I spoke to Congressman Don Bacon yesterday, Republican from Nebraska. He voted for Kevin McCarthy on the first 2 ballots. He said he expects the number of Jordan defectors, Jordan holdouts, to increase by 10. So on Tuesday, there were 20 Republicans who withheld support from Jim Jordan, voting for other Republican candidates. On Tuesday, that number swelled to 22. So if Don Bacon's prediction is correct, we could be well into the 30s at this point, which obviously is not a good sign for Jim Jordan and his quest for the gavel.
What happens next if that is the case?
Well, look, Jim Jordan held a brief press conference in the Capitol this morning, giving no indications that he plans to drop out anytime soon. He said that he essentially suggested that he's willing to work through the weekend and continue voting on his speakership bid until there is a speaker in place. So the expectation is that if this vote does not work out for Jim Jordan, which, as I laid out before, is the likely outcome, he's likely to go back to the floor, bring his nomination for a 4th vote, risking again that possibility of the number of opponents increasing. But to him, he thinks that, continuing to bring it to the floor, putting pressure on those holdouts as the government funding deadline looms, as there's a war in the Middle East that's intensifying. He's essentially, one would think that he's betting on the idea that some of these holdouts will potentially fatigue, or as time goes on, they'll be more open to negotiating, having conversations. But yeah, Jim Jordan this morning, no indication that he plans to step down anytime soon.
There is reporting from inside the chamber as this quorum call is taking place by your colleagues on Capitol Hill that there are lawmakers in the chamber who have some casual outfits on, indicating that they are not taking this threat of working over the weekend seriously, or they plan to leave anyway.
Well, look, I'm not going to try to speculate Congress's dress code, what they're wearing today. It is Friday. Sometimes it's a more casual Friday up here on Capitol Hill. I will note it has been a very long few weeks for Congress. If my count is correct, this is the third week that the House has actually been in the building in a row. I'm sorry, the sixth week that the House has been in the building in a row. They were supposed to be in session for 3 weeks, then take 2 weeks off and have district work period, and then be back this week. But of course, with this speakership drama, lawmakers have been in the building that entire time. So look, if they're trying to sneak in a pair of jeans or maybe a quarter zip today, I don't know if it's that they're not taking it seriously, but maybe just that they wanted a comfortable Friday as this stalemate drags on.
What happened yesterday after that third vote? This third vote was canceled. Did Jim Jordan meet behind closed doors with these opponents?
Yeah, so Jim Jordan, so initially the way yesterday was supposed to go was a conference meeting in the morning, a House Republican conference meeting behind closed doors, followed by that third vote. But of course, as you mentioned right there, plans for the third vote were spiked. And instead, House Republicans had a nearly 4-hour conference meeting, which even by standards up here on Capitol Hill is a pretty long time to have members behind closed doors and talking. After that closed door meeting, Jordan then went to a different meeting with a handful of those holdouts, those lawmakers who have withheld support for him and have given no indication that they plan to flip. That lasted about 2 hours. And afterwards, those Jordan holdouts left the room saying essentially that they were unchanged. I spoke to one Congressman, John Rutherford. When asked if he expressed to Jim Jordan that he has no path to the gavel at this point, Rutherford said that is correct. So coming out of that meeting, holdouts were unmoved. It appears that they are dug in and will continue in that stance. But as I mentioned, Jim Jordan giving no indication he plans to give up anytime soon and is going to continue through this battle.
You can follow Michael Schnell's reporting if you go to thehill.com. Michael Schnell, we appreciate your time. We know you're busy up there. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go to your calls and get your reaction to what you just learned there from Michael Schnell. Daniel in Canton, Ohio, Republican. Your turn, Daniel.
I see a lot of Republicans in wolves, what do you call it, disguised as a wolf.
Okay.
A lot of Republicans I'm starting to see is they're really for real Democrat. They're really for real liberal. Look, I'm from the state of Ohio. We don't, that just says that Jim Jordan represents us. We're not no bull crap.
So you're rooting for Jim Jordan here.
I'm from Ohio. I just said that.
Okay, well, that doesn't necessarily mean be rooting for him, but you are.
He represents the state of Ohio.
All right. Deanne in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Hi, Deanne.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am for Jim Jordan. These few Republicans that are holding out for whatever their reasons, I just pray to God Almighty that he would touch their hearts, and when they stand up on this vote today, that the name Jim Jordan would come out their mouths in Jesus' name, and that the Republicans would stand together. Like I said, the only thing they can learn from the Democrats is they at least stand together. These Republicans need to come together today and confirm Jim Jordan as Speaker of the House in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, Deanne, and you will find out how each lawmaker votes because the clerk will call them out by last name in alphabetical order. They will give the name, the surname of who they want to be Speaker today. So you'll hear Democrats, as they have all along, say the name Jeffries. We will see what 20 plus Republicans do when it's their turn to nominate from their party a Speaker of the House. Brian in Pierceton, Indiana, independent. Hi, Brian.
Hi. Yeah, I'm for Jim Jordan. These holdouts need to just end their stupidity. All they're doing is exactly like they did with McCarthy, making the Republican Party look like a bunch of idiots. Jeffries has no business even being nominated for Speaker, and Jim Jordan would be a good Speaker of the House.
All right, Brian, following up on the previous caller and the party, calling on the party to be united, YouGov did a poll recently, and this is what they found out. When they surveyed all U.S. adults, they found 51% say it's the Democrats who are united as a party. 16% said Republicans. When you ask Democrats, that number increased to 79%. 40% of independents said Democrats. Look at the number for Republicans. Of those surveyed who are Republican voters, they said 33% said their party is united, while 40% said it's not. Myrtle in Hammers, South Carolina, Republican. Hello, Myrtle.
Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Yes, my comment is I wish these that's holding out too much will come on and vote for Jim Jordan. The guy that's voting for Kevin McCarthy, which you don't want to get back in, should go ahead with Jim Jordan. I seen this same stuff go on when they voted for Kevin, that the little Matt Gaetz was one of the main problems at the end of it, and I see that he was the one that started this about getting McKevin out. They're going to keep on till they get another Democrat in there. It's going to be just the same way with Pelosi, which would be a bad thing. But please, I pray that these Republicans just come on and open up and vote for Jim.
All right.
Thank you.
The quorum call, the bed check to see who is here in Washington and who is in the chamber for this next round of voting for Speaker is out of time. But as you can see under the NV, not voting column, there are 9 lawmakers. So they will likely keep this open until they get those 9 in the chamber and marked as present. And then they will move on to nomination speeches, as you've heard before. After that, it will be the roll call vote for Speaker of the House. Tom in Hanover, Illinois, Democratic caller. Hi, Tom.
Hi. So, honestly, the Republicans that are holding out against Jordan have very good reasons. Threatening their families and pressure campaigns, that's not how politics is supposed to work. That's how gangsters work. Our politicians are supposed to be better than that. If there were real problem solvers in the Republican Party, 6 of them would go over, vote for Jeffries, and get the House back open.
Deborah, an independent. Hi, Deborah.
Good afternoon. Good morning. I think that Jim Jordan is a clear and present danger to this country. I would like to see him replaced by, say, a Romney. Someone is a true Republican who believes in the Republican standpoint and the Republican values. The problem with Jim Jordan is he has no values, and he is a liar, and he is a election denier. And also, I think that he is a MAGA, which we do not need anymore. We've had enough of this turmoil for the last 6 years. We need to get down to the business of the country, and I'm afraid that he's going to do something to Social Security and to Medicare, and there's a lot of people in this country who live on those 2 things. Thank you very much for taking my call.
All right, Deborah. Bradley, Elkton, Virginia, Republican. Hi, Bradley.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, Bradley, mute that television, all right? And then you'll be ready to talk through the phone.
I got it muted. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
All right. I think that Jim Jordan would be a good Speaker of the House. But if this fails this time, I think what they need to do is go back and select another one. And I believe that Representative Ben Klein from Virginia would be a good one. He's worked both sides very well with each other.
All right, Bradley's thoughts there. In Virginia, we are 17 days without a Speaker of the House. YouGov asked that question in their recent poll. By 51% to 5, Americans are more likely to say that the lack of a House Speaker is hurting rather than the helping the U.S. government's ability to do its work. Pamela, Lake Worth, Florida, Democratic caller. Hi, Pamela.
17 days without a Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan and the MAGA Republicans are bringing down the U.S. government from the House of Representatives. We cannot allow Jim Jordan the power of the purse. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Don't let them touch our Social Security checks.
Pamela, Democratic caller there in Florida. Ray, also Democrat in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Hi, Ray.
Hi, morning. I honestly believe that our country will be ran a lot better if there was a woman running our country. For the history of our country, the president has always been men. It's time for a woman to take charge of our country and stop all this bickering that's going on right now.
And who would that be, Ray?
We have vilified so many smart women, Hillary Clinton, Carly Fiorina on both sides, also Nancy Pelosi, our current vice president, Kamala Harris. The biggest argument they make about her is the way she laughs. Come on, let's get serious in our country. There are plenty of women, smart women on both sides of the aisle that can do a great job of running this country.
Tampa, Florida. Steve, Republican. Steve, who do you want to be Speaker of the House?
I'd like Jim Jordan to be Speaker, but I'd also back Steve Scalise. My perspective comes from a disappointment in the abridgment of rights by the Biden administration and the deficits that we're running. I know leftists are not concerned with the deficits because I spoke to my son who's a leftist yesterday, but we are running deficits that are going to change America, and the war in Ukraine and how we send money abroad, and also for migrants. We need to help Americans, and the young people can't afford to buy homes. Young people can't afford to have children. And so, I am very concerned about that. And I think we need somebody to be a stop to the Biden administration.
Steve, did you approve of the ousting of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker?
Absolutely. The Inflation Reduction Act was made possible by McConnell and McCarthy. And even Democrats have admitted it doesn't reduce inflation, it's increasing it. And I don't know about you, but, paying for food and gas is becoming impossible.
All right, Steve, we are more than 2 weeks from that day when 8 Republicans voted to oust Kevin McCarthy from the speakership. Today, on this Friday morning, we are watching as there is a quorum call happening in the House of Representatives. As you can see, they're still waiting on 8 members, 2 Republicans, 6 Democrats to make their way to the chamber and mark themselves present so that they can proceed to a 3rd round of ballots for the nomination of Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan pushing forward today with that 3rd vote. He also told reporters and members that he would work through the weekend and keep going with more votes to see if he can gain ground here. According to reports on Capitol Hill, however, the opposition will grow today. We heard from Michael Schnell that it was 20 on Tuesday this week, 22 on Wednesday, and today there are reports that it could be 30 plus of his GOP colleagues who vote in opposition to him as Speaker. Jimmy in Buffalo, Independent. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, good morning. I just want to say that as an independent who has voted for who I thought was the best candidate, whether they were Republican or Democratic, I find it very interesting that the Republican Party, especially Kevin McCarthy, is trying to blame Democrats for this fiasco when he himself said he would not reach out across the aisle because he wanted to be a red speaker. This is and I also think it's fair to say that we are constantly lumping Republicans into the MAGA wagon when they're really not. There are Republicans that are moderate, as there are Democrats. There are mega people that are part of the cult, the 8 that disposed McCarthy for whatever reason. He did it to himself by agreeing to the one vote for one person to be able to bring it to the floor. We need to stop vilifying true Republicans. Push the blame where it belongs. It starts with Donald Trump and works its way down. Thank you.
All right. YouGov did another poll on whether or not it was a good idea to remove Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, and they found by 43 to 36%, Republicans now disapprove of the removal of Kevin McCarthy. That was at 33 to 32% around early October, and they saw that number increase for Republicans, 43 to 37, 36% early October, and it has grown that more Republicans disapprove of his removal. Mary in Port Austin, Michigan, Democratic caller.
Hi, I'm glad to see Jim Jordan losing. He does not ever need to be Speaker of the House. You cannot have an election denier in that position. It's time for the moderate Republicans to work with the Democrats on a power-sharing agreement and get our government back in business. Thank you.
All right. Now, this is just a quorum call. This is not the vote. As you can see, they're just finding out who's present right now. And there are 2 Republicans missing, 4 Democrats missing. It doesn't look like they're in a hurry to bring this quorum to a close because they want everyone that is in Washington, all the lawmakers in Washington, in the chamber for this next round of voting for Speaker. We've learned earlier from Michael Schnell, and you've probably heard the reporting as well, that there are 2 vacancies in the House. So the total number of lawmakers in the House of Representatives is 433, but today it'll be 432 because Congressman Derek Van Orden, a Republican of Wisconsin, a Jordan supporter, will not be here in Washington. He is in Israel for a fact-finding trip. Leisha in Derry, New Hampshire, Republican. Hi there.
Hi. I am a Jim Jordan supporter. And I'm hearing a lot from Democrats thinking that we are divided. What the Republicans are in the process of doing are cleaning out the rhinos. They're exposing themselves, and those who are putting their personal differences before what the people want, and the people are being very clear that we want Jim Jordan. It's also on the internet, through social media, that a lot of us, long-term Republicans, are thinking of changing and creating a new party. We are not MAGA. We are people who are tired of the same old in our government.
Leisha, how do you know it's Americans who want Jim Jordan to be Speaker, or, Republican voters, that they want Jim Jordan to be Speaker?
Because I do extensive, in-depth studying on the internet. I do it, and I try to get a lot of information and simplify the complicated issues. I read comments, I do my own data analysis, and I do it as a hobby. I'm seeing a trend, and the trend is in the favor of conservative Republicans, because people are going back to being conservative because...
All right.
On this roll call, 427 members have recorded their presence. The question now recurs on the election of a Speaker. If the tellers will please come forward. House will come to order. Nominations are now in order. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. McCarthy.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to nominate Jim Jordan for the Speaker of the House. Now, I've listened to the speeches this week, and I can already tell you what my friends on the other side will say using their poll-tested phrases. But let me correct the record. Jim Jordan is an effective legislator. To legislate is about more than the name on the bill. It's about reaching compromise and working long hours behind the scenes to get the job done.
The House will come to order. Gentleman may resume.
When you are the chairman of a committee, you are responsible for dozens of bills passing the House and being signed into law. So let me tell you a few facts that don't come out in the polls. As the leader of the Judiciary Committee, Jim has passed more bills through the House in just 3 years than the entire Democrat leadership team that has their collective 28 years in Congress. Mr. Aguilar has a whopping one whole bill signed into law, a post office in San Bernardino. I guess that's good enough to be caucus chair. Jim Jordan, on the other hand, has a hand in drafting bills like the REINS Act to curb unaccountable bureaucrats. He helped negotiate and pass H.R. 2, the strongest border security bill this House has ever passed. And many of you know, because you were in the room, watching Jim find compromise, watching Jim listen to your positions, and finding a bill that can pass. And let's put this in reality. We've had large majorities, but we never could pass a border security bill. That takes leadership. Now, they're going to get upset by it. Why? Because every single Democrat voted against securing our border. Democrats are attacking Jim because they don't want the American people to remember that they voted against securing and keeping a wide open border. They may not want the American public to know the number of people we catch on the terrorist watch list. They may not want people to know what the future holds in the security for our nation based upon their policies. Name me one bill Democrats passed that would secure our border. I'm waiting. You can't, because they haven't. Mr. Speaker, the truth is, if we measure lawmakers by how many bills have their name on it, we are using the wrong measuring stick. Some of my members I know with the most bills to their name are the most selfish. Jim Jordan, on the other hand, is one of the most selfless members I know. I've known Jim a long time, so I want to do something different. I actually called the freshman members on his committee and asked them, what do you think of your chairman? Here's just a few. I quote, Jim empowers every member of judiciary to pursue what interests them. I quote by another, he lets each of us take the lead on the issues that are important to us, even letting freshmen and junior members take important roles. Another one, he trusts our judgment on how we handle issues and witnesses, and always seeks our input on key issues. Another, as a freshman, he had me lead off a hearing that related to my subject matter expertise, and he goes out of his way to highlight member successes. He is straightforward, honest, and reliable. That is who Jim Jordan is, and that's what being a speaker is all about. Now, some of you might not know this, but Jim and I have a long history. We created because we take our job serious. I first met Jim as a candidate. I traveled to Ohio. I remember pulling up for breakfast at a Bob Evans in Ohio. There was Jim having a meeting, listening to constituents. I traveled with him throughout the day, from Rotary to Farm Bureau, to just listening to people that had concerns. And I watched them, the same Jim Jordan I see today. He was a leader, a listener, and a fighter. We were actually elected to Congress that same year and became close friends. It was a small class. There was only 13 of us. It was one of the smallest Republican classes in modern history. Over time, we took different routes. Jim actually ran against me for leader in 2018. It was a hard-fought battle. But I never once questioned his skills or commitment to this conference or this country. After the race, I became leader, and we had an opening for the ranking member on House Oversight. Jim didn't even apply for the job. I walked into steering, didn't tell steering. I walked into the other room, and I picked up the phone, and I called Jim. I said, I know you're not running for the job, but I believe in what Jim Collins says in the book, Good to Great. You put the right people in the right seats on the bus. And Jim, you and I may have challenged one another, but you were the right person for that seat. And it was right when he took that job. It was right again when I asked Jim to step up and join the Intel Committee when Democrats put politics over people and turned the Intel Committee into an impeachment committee. It was right again when we asked Jim to step up and be the right person to lead Judiciary Committee as chairman. And Jim is the right person to take that seat behind me to be our next Speaker of the House. Mr. Speaker, we have an important job to do. The American people expect us to focus on the most pressing issues. We've watched what the Democrat majority has done and brought us inflation like we haven't seen since the 70s. We've watched what the Democrats have done by opening up our border, bringing fentanyl, killing Americans each and every day. And now we have a war in Israel. This country is too great for small visions. Trust me, being Speaker is not an easy job, especially in this conference. But I've seen Jim spend his entire career fighting for freedom, no matter what, no matter the odds, and I know he is ready for the job. And so it is my honor to say, as a member of the Republican Conference, I am directed by the vote of that conference to present for the election to the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives the name of my friend, the Honorable Jim Jordan, a representative from the state of Ohio. I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 212, it's a New York area code, and it's our call for a speaker of integrity, intelligence, and inclusion. 212 is our call for a speaker who will protect our children, our veterans, our planet. 212 is our call for a speaker who will grow the middle class, lower costs, create good-paying jobs, and make health care affordable. 212 is our call for a speaker who will secure liberty, justice, and opportunity for everyone. Well, the unanimous call of 212 House Democrats has been answered by our nominee for Speaker, the gentleman from Brooklyn, the leader of our House Democratic Caucus, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries. Leader Jeffries has answered our call, but the majority's nominee is disconnected from the American people and their values. MAGA extremism is designed to divide, and it has broken the Republican Party. Their nominee's vision is a direct attack on the freedom and the rights of the American people, and he's got the record to prove it. The Republican nominee has voted against health care for children, for veterans, even for 9/11 survivors. He has opposed lowering the cost of insulin repeatedly. He wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. Don't take it from me. It was raised on the other side of the aisle just this week as a selling point to make him Speaker. Over his 16 years in the House, the Republican nominee has never supported a farm bill. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means he has turned his back on farmers, on rural communities, and the 11 million children who go to bed hungry in this country. The Republican nominee wants a national abortion ban with no exceptions for rape, incest, or the health of a mother. We want to make our own health care decisions in consultation with our families, our doctors, our faith, not with Jim Jordan. The Republican nominee plotted to overturn the 2020 election, traffics in misinformation, and is a true threat to our democracy and our Constitution. I have had the privilege of working here in the People's House for almost 10 years. And I've gotten to know many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. And I know that you hear the same thing that I do. The American people expect us to work together on their behalf. It is not too late for the majority to choose a bipartisan path forward to reopen the House. Take yes for an answer. Every day, the majority chooses to engage in a Republican civil war that is threatening their own members instead of engaging with us in the work of the American people is a day that weakens this institution and the standing of our country. We need a speaker who will govern through consensus, not conflict. We need a speaker worthy of wielding that gavel, a leader who will defend democracy, not degrade it. More than ever, we need proven, patriotic, people-first leadership. And that is why I am proud to nominate Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House.
The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Jordan. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. Jordan. Allen. Jordan. Allred. Jeffries. Amodei. Jordan. Armstrong. Jordan. Arrington. Jordan. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Jordan. Bacon. McHenry. Baird. Jordan. Balderson. Jordan. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Jordan. Barr. Jordan. Bedegan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Jordan. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. Jordan. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Jordan. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. Jordan. Biggs. Jordan. Bilirakis. Jordan. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. Jordan. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Boebert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bast. Bast. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. Jordan. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. Donalds. Buck. Emmer. Bouchon. Jordan. Budzinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Burchett. Jordan. Burgess. Jordan. Burleson. Jordan. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. Jordan. Kamick. Jordan. Caraveo. Jeffries. Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas. Jeffries. Carey. Jordan. Carl. Jordan. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Jordan. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Jordan. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeReamer. McHenry. Shearfillis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Siscomani. Jordan. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Jordan. Cloud. Jordan. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Jordan. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Jordan. Collins. Jordan. Comer. Jordan. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Jordan. Crawford. Jordan. Crenshaw. Jordan. Crockett. Jeffries. Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. Jordan. Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. Jordan. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries. Dean of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries. De la Cruz. Jordan. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSagne. Jeffries. Desjardins. Jordan. D'Esposito. Zeldin. Diaz-Balart. Scalise. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. Jordan. Duarte. Jordan. Duncan. Jordan. Dunn of Florida. Jordan. Edwards. Jordan. Elsie. Mike Garcia. Emmer. Jordan. Escobar. Jeffries. Eshu. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. Jordan. Evans. Jeffries. Ezel. Jordan. Fallon. Jordan. Feenstra. Jordan. Ferguson. Scalise. Finstad. Jordan. Fischbach. Jordan. Fitzgerald. Jordan. Fitzpatrick. McHenry. Fleischman. Jordan. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Jordan. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Fox. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin. Jordan. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Jordan. Fulcher. Jordan. Gates. Jordan. Gallagher. Jordan. Gallego. Jeffries. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. Zeldin. Mike Garcia. Jordan. Robert Garcia. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Jimenez. McCarthy. Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. Scalise. Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente Gonzalez. Good of Virginia. Jordan. Gooden of Texas. Jordan. Gosar. Jordan. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. Scalise. Graves of Louisiana. Jordan. Graves of Missouri. Jordan. Green of Tennessee. Jordan. Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Jordan. Griffith. Jordan. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. Jordan. Guest. Jordan. Guthrie. Jordan. Hageman. Jordan. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. Jordan. Harshbarger. Jordan. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. Jordan. Higgins of Louisiana. Jordan. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill. Jordan. Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Jordan. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. Jordan. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. Jordan. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Jordan. Hunt. Hunt. Isa. Jordan. Ivy. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Jordan. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Donalds. Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Jordan. Johnson of Ohio. Jordan. Johnson of South Dakota. Jordan. 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 Joyce of Ohio. Jordan. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Cam Lagerdove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. McCarthy. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Jordan. Kelly of Pennsylvania. Scalise. Khanna. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. McHenry. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. Jordan. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Jordan. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff. Jordan. LaHood. Jordan. La Lota. Zeldin. LaMalfa. Jordan. Lamborn. Jordan. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Jordan. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. Jordan. LaTurner. Jordan. Lawler. McHenry. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. Jordan. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. Jordan. Letlow. Jordan. Levin. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk. Jordan. Lucas. Jordan. Lutkemeyer. Jordan. Luna. Jordan. Luttrell. Jordan. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Jordan. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Jordan. Mann. Jordan. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. Jordan. Mast. Jordan. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. Jordan. McCall. Jordan. McLean. Jordan. McClellan. Jeffries. McClintock. Jordan. McCullum. Jeffries. McCormick. Jordan. McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry. Jordan. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Mang. Jeffries. Muser. Jordan. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Jordan. Miller of Ohio. Jordan. Miller of West Virginia. Jordan. Miller Meeks. McHenry. Mills. Jordan. Molinaro. Zeldin. Molinar. Jordan. Mooney. Jordan. Moore of Alabama. Jordan. Moore of Utah. Jordan. Moore of Wisconsin. Jeffries. Moran. Jordan. Morelli. Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. Jordan. Nadler. Jeffries. Napolitano. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Nagoose. Jeffries. Nails. Jordan. Newhouse. Jordan. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross. Jeffries. Norman. Jordan. Nunn of Iowa. Jordan. Obernolte. Jordan. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries. Ogles. Jordan. Omar. Omar. Jeffries. Owens. Jordan. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Jordan. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pascrell. Jeffries. Payne. Payne. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. Jordan. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Jordan. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Jordan. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. Jordan. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Jordan. Rogers of Washington. Jordan. Rogers of Alabama. Jordan. Rogers of Kentucky, Jordan. Rose, Jordan. Rosendale, Jordan. Ross, Jeffries. Rouser, Jordan. Roy, Jordan. Ruiz, Jeffries. Rupersberger, Jeffries. Rutherford, Scalise. Ryan, Jeffries. Salazar, Jordan. Salinas, Jeffries. Sanchez, Jeffries. Santos, Jordan. Sarbanes, Jeffries. Scalise, Jordan. Scanlon, Jeffries. Schakowsky, Jeffries. Schiff, Jeffries. Schneider, Jeffries. Skolton, Jeffries. Schreier, Jeffries. Schweikert, Jordan. Austin Scott, Jordan. David Scott, Jeffries. Scott of Virginia, Jeffries. Self, Jordan. Sessions, Jordan. Sewell, Jeffries. Sherman, Jeffries. Sherrill, Jeffries. Simpson, Scalise. Slotkin, Jeffries. Smith of Missouri, Jordan. Smith of Nebraska, Jordan. Smith of New Jersey, Jordan. Smith of Washington, Jeffries. Smucker, Jordan. Sorensen, Jeffries. Soto, Jeffries. Spanberger, Jeffries. Sparts, Jordan. Stansbury, Jeffries. Stanton, Jeffries. Stauber, Westerman. Steele, Jordan. Stefanik, Jordan. Style, Jordan. Stubbe, Jordan. Stevens, Jeffries. Strickland, Jeffries. Strong, Jordan. Swalwell, Jeffries. Sykes, Jeffries. Takano, Jeffries. Tenney, Jordan. Tenadar, Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Tiffany. Jordan. Timmons. Jordan. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Tonko. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Jeffries. Turner. Jordan. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. Jordan. Van Drew.
The Honorable Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Van Dyne. Jordan. Van Orden. Van Orden. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. VC. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. Jordan. Wahlberg. Jordan. Waltz. Jordan. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. Jordan. Webster of Florida. Jordan. Winstrup. Jordan. Westerman. Jordan. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of New York. Jordan. Williams of Texas. Jordan. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Jordan. Whitman. Jordan. Womack. Scalise. Yakum. Jordan. Zinke. Jordan.
All right, so the first one you're going to have is Mr. Lost. And then you're going to have Fox. And then you have Vicente Gonzalez. And then Mr. Payne's in here.
What about Hunt?
Yeah, Hunt. And Hunt.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first roll call.
Bost. Jordan. Fox. Jordan. Vicente Gonzalez. Vicente Gonzalez. Hunt. Hunt. Payne. Payne. Van Orden. Van Orden.
If there are any members who did not answer the call of the roll, they may come to the well and vote at this time.
C-SPAN's live coverage of the House of Representatives, and it looks like the clerks are working to officially tabulate the results of this third round of votes for Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan not getting the votes that he needed. The numbers right now looking like 210 Democrats voting for Hakeem Jeffries. They are missing 2 of their members. 194 for Jim Jordan. 25 Republicans defecting. That number has grown since earlier in the week when there were 20 on Tuesday, 22 on Wednesday, and on this Friday morning, 25 of his GOP colleagues voting against his nomination for Speaker. Live coverage here on the House, here of the House, here on C-SPAN. We are waiting for the official count of this third round of balloting on the nomination of Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, to serve as Speaker. And we are learning from Capitol Hill reporters, Billy House of Bloomberg, Eric Wasson of Bloomberg as well, that the conference, the GOP conference, will head back into a closed-door meeting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Again, Jim Jordan not getting the magic number he needed today on this third round of balloting to become Speaker.
The House will come to order. The tellers agree in their tally that the total number of votes cast is 429, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 194. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 210. The Honorable Patrick McHenry of the state of North Carolina has received 6. All right, the House will come to order. The House will come to order. The Honorable Byron Donalds of the state of Florida has received 2. The Honorable Tom Emmer of the state of Minnesota has received 1. Lee Zeldin of the state of New York has received 4. The Honorable Steve Scalise of the state of Louisiana has received 8. The Honorable Mike Garcia of the state of California has received 1. The Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California has received 2. The Honorable Bruce Westerman of the state of Arkansas has received 1. No person having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname, a speaker has not been elected. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.